and welcome back to the GoLoud Sessions. On this week's episode, I meet Michelle Walsh Jackson, aka The Novel Traveller, to hear all about her new travel podcast and what it's been like in the year without travel. Enjoy. Michelle Walsh Jackson, who is The Novel Traveller?
The Novel Traveller. Well, I morphed into the Novel Traveller in around 2014, and it happened quite organically because I started my writing quite late. I was in my 30s, and I had my first novel published in 2008. And it was set in Biarritz, or the beginning of it was. And I just love travel. It's just something I've always been passionate about, and I've always traveled a lot. And all my books followed then a pattern after that. I had 2 days in Biarritz. My next book was 3 nights in New York. And then I kind of wanted to tidy up the numbers. And my third book was One Kiss in Havana. I just like brought a couple here to show you today. These are my babies. And each book kind of took about a year to write. And I wrote 6 quite quickly. My last book in 2013, and I was kind of a bit exhausted with writing. And I got an invite to a press trip with the Irish Mail on Sunday. They wanted an author to kind of go on a trip and write about it for the newspaper. So I ended up falling in love with travel writing. This was like amazing for me. I didn't have to write 100,000 words and put it into a book. I was able to just, go somewhere, explore, get to see the best of everything, and then write about it. And I think the first article was the Mail on Sunday. Then I started writing for the Sunday World, and then the Irish Independent, and the Irish Times, and the Sunday Times, and I've kind of written for everybody now as a travel writer over the years. So I kind of realized I'm becoming more of a travel person. And I used to go on the Elaine show to promote my books, and Elaine Crowley on Virgin Media, it was called Midday back then. And she kind of said to me, hey, listen, you kind of know a lot about this travel stuff. Will you do a slot, So that started there. And then I was called onto News Talk to chat with Ivan. I did that for 3 years while he was doing the hard shoulder. So kind of, I had to start a website, to kind of bring everything together. And the Novel Traveller was just the best name that suited, because my love of travel, my writing novels, and of course I'm back writing novels now as well. So it's I really feel set as the Novel Traveller.
How did the podcast come about then, the Novel Traveller podcast?
Well, do you know what? I don't have a lot of time on my hands normally. And I really wanted to really inspire and energize people. And I still have been doing my slot on the Elaine show all the way through the pandemic. Talking about gifts we can buy or things we can do to make us think of travel. And I really want to inspire people. And it's very easy when you're in a situation like we are at the moment with the restrictions and the lockdown to forget that the countries are all still there. We will travel again. This isn't going to stop. And when you're in a dark place, you can forget that. And like even last summer, the virus did die down in the summer. We did travel last summer all around our own country, and it was marvelous traveling around Ireland because there's so much to see and do. Our country is beautiful. What a great country to be locked down in, So I just kind of decided I've got a couple of really interesting people to ask about their travels and their travel stories, and everyone loves talking about their travels. So I started off with Ivan, and then Keith Barry, who I'd met at my friend's book launch. I said, would he like to be interviewed? And it's just kind of as catapult. I have a great list of lovely people coming up, people like John Sheehan and Rick O'Shea will be this week's podcast, and then I have lovely ladies like Sally Ann Clark and Ruth Scott, and everybody's kind of excited, because we miss travel. So by talking about it, it might give people ideas when they're listening while they're out on their walks. Oh gosh, yeah, that Croatia sounds nice now, the way they're talking about that, or something for my bucket list is Japan, or something like that.
How have you personally found the last year? Like, obviously you mentioned the pandemic and there's been a significant lack of travel, and then you also mentioned the kind of circuit break in the middle that we got, where we got to travel around. I did a nice night in Lahinch, absolutely loved it. Did you get away anywhere yourself? Have you have you rediscovered Ireland itself?
I really have. I had a wonderful time. I went cruising on the Shannon, and I went cruising on Lough Erne up in Fermanagh Lakes, and I got quite around the country quite a bit. I went to stay in some castles. I went glamping for the first time. Elaine Crowley had a real laugh at that, me glamping, she wanted to see evidence of that. It was a bit of a disaster, as it turned out, because my other half, my teenage daughter and her best friend, I kind of thought we were going to have 2 pods, but they put us all in the 1 pod. And it was like, And these are small. The table I'm sitting at kind of the size. But you know what? The little pub next door was great. We went in and had our meal there. We had an action-packed day the next day. So, we needed our sleep. So it worked out fine. But, I just think Ireland is great. And I'm really looking forward to exploring more this summer.
Probably a hard question, but I do kind of want to turn the table on you a bit. Do you have like a real standout memory, like one travel moment that springs to mind when you're like, oh my God, that everything about that was absolutely amazing and everyone needs to go there at least once in their life?
My number one on my bucket list for nearly all my life since I first heard of the place was Machu Picchu. And I'd hoped to get there for my 50th birthday, but I didn't. It was about 3 years later. And it didn't disappoint. Now it was kind of heavy with tourists and you have to kind of queue and there's all that sort of thing attached to it, which I'm hoping this might kind of change the way tourist sites are kind of visited. I'm hoping they will be a little bit more spread out the way they take tourists. But I remember going through the Andes, and I went by train. I didn't do the 5-day trek, through the jungle, and my son was with me. And we just looked up at the mountains and they were playing the Andean music on the panpipes and all that. And we just kind of looked at each other and kind of went, yeah, we're really here. Like we're really where we want to be. And then we went whitewater rafting the next day, which is something I thought I'd never do. I was hanging on the side of the boat. He was at the front with his paddle and, kind of saving the day. And yes. So I think that my adventure to Peru with my son is a standout. It's kind of something I'm so happy that I have experienced and done. And I can't forget my daughter. My daughter's fabulous too. And we've been to Thailand. And I remember going through the hongs in kayaks. And you have to kind of go down very, very low to get underneath the low ceilings to get into the middle of a hong. And the center of a hong it's kind of like cliffs all around this kind of beautiful little oasis of water in the center. And you've got monkeys climbing trees all around it. And we went there and we lit these little kratongs, they're called, the little like spiritual offerings to the gods. And we kind of did that. And that was kind of quite special and magical too.
It's so amazing to be able to share those memories with your family and just have them to revisit in your brain. So nice.
It's so lovely to look back now. I kind of feel the last year I've had a chance to digest these and to really think about them. And that's kind of why I pulled out a book I'd started before the pandemic and I finished it and I brought it out. It's called Journey to the Heartland. And it's kind of loosely based around a trip I went on in Oklahoma with my father. My father's a great love of the Wild West, and I traveled extensively through the city, did a bit of Route 66, stayed in a ranch, got to see about the Native American Indian culture, which I am absolutely crazy about. I think we have so much to learn from the wisdom of the Native Americans. So it has been quite a productive year and a lovely year for me to kind of reflect. And it's lovely then with my guests to be able to get them to reflect on their travels too.
On that, and again, probably a tricky question because there's only a few episodes out and I'd say you don't want to spoil some of the episodes, but can you tell us anything, give us any nice tidbits or highlights from you or something maybe that you weren't expecting from some of your guests?
I didn't think Keith Barry was going to be such an avid fisherman. And that was really interesting to find out, how he has enjoyed it all his life. And his bucket list trip is to go to Russia with his dad. He has this kind of dream to go. So, and I thought, oh, that's really adventurous. And then I've got Ricochet coming up this week, and he's a great traveler. He's got some lovely kind of nuggets of information about East Asia. He's been to South Korea and Japan. So it was great chatting with him. And of course, Linda Marr's a great laugh. She really is. She's such a great girl, the travel editor of the Irish Daily Mail and You Magazine. And she's got the funniest story about her Uncle Mickey's false teeth. I'm not going to ruin it for her, but it really is great.
Oh, people need to listen to that because it is a cracker.
And Ivan is such a dear friend, and I do miss working with him. So it was just really cute to be able to turn the tables on him. And he's such a great guy. It was lovely that he came on as my first guest.
Michelle, where can people find out more about you beyond the podcast?
Well, thenoveltraveller.com is my website. For my books and all that sort of stuff, they can put michellewalshjackson.com or michellejackson.ie. It's kind of the same website. So go to either of those, and you'll get to see, recordings of broadcasts I've done, and some travel news and travel tips and some ideas, because I know people do look forward to traveling again. We have to really get it into our heads that this is not going to last forever. This too shall pass. And we do have to be positive. And the hospitality industry in this country is amazing. It really is. It's one of the best in any country I've been in the world. And I do think we're going to be supporting of it. So yeah.
God, you have me excited now. I cannot wait. Michelle Walsh Jackson, thank you so much for joining me on the GoLoud Sessions.
Thank you, Fionnuala.